took a deep breath. It was like, you will know it.
That's
a
very good confidence.
And then I responded, and it was like, congrats! Because, and I was like, what do you mean you want to appreciate me? I should.
I'm supposed to do this is what I'm here to do.
So
Dr. Aanuoluwa Adekoya.
Yeah.
Hi guys, it's another episode on academic journeys, and I have somebody very, very amazing to talk to today, and she's a freshly minted doctor. Do you prefer Dr. Aanuoluwa Adekoya or Aanuoluwa Adekoya PhD? People people say you have to know it's a PhD. So which one do you prefer?
So I think that personally, I just say, just call me what you knew me as. So for somebody like
you, have been humble.
I think for somebody like you, I would still want you to call me Aanuoluwa because you met me when I was Aanuoluwa.
At least for now, enjoy your PhD.
But for somebody meeting me right now, it is Dr. Aanuoluwa Adekoya.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You definitely deserve it. Congratulations on your successful defense.
Thank you.
I missed your defense because of some other things that came up in my life.
That's
but
okay.
Everybody who came said you were just slicing and slaying.
Thank you.
And somebody called you microorganisms. Like you're just naming different things.
Thank you.
So that's definitely good. Interestingly, honestly, I know you came to UT as a transfer student.
Yes, I did.
And I've heard about you before I even met you.
Oh, really?
Yes. I heard that, and you guys can hear that. There's a girl that just came. She's really good. She's really bright. It's like, I'm like, who is this girl? I want to meet her. I want to really know. So I think I've met you before I met you.
Yes.
Because of that. And I think the question I have is, everybody seems to say that this girl is really good. She's really made for this. How do you know you were made for this? Or what do you think about that comment? And I know you're going to go, oh, I'm a Yoruba girl, I'm humble. What do you want to say to that?
I think first of all, I appreciate all of those comments because words means a lot to me.
Yes.
Comments means a lot to me.
Yes.
And I'll tell you that some of those comments actually keep me going.
That's good.
I think the very first one was my agricultural science teacher when I was in JSS 3. I went to secondary school in Ado Ekiti.
Is it government college?
Yeah, no, Mary Immaculate Girls Grammar School.
People go to like schools that have European names, Mary Immaculate.
No, this is a trenchy school.
When I started Bookie was like, Bookie went to Mayfield. But guess what? Mayfield was in Agbado.
Yeah.
So,
this was a trenchy school. It was in Ado Ekiti.
Okay.
It was like very close to the markets.
Okay. Yeah.
So my agricultural teacher, science teacher, Mr. Jimo, I remember then that he had a question. He was teaching GS3C. I was in GS3E.
Okay.
So he was teaching GS3C. He had a question about, vegetables and all that. And then nobody in the class could differentiate, could name the difference between those vegetables and those fruits, right?
It's like tomatoes, where tomato is it a fruit or a vegetable? Because it has seeds.
Orange. Spinach is a leafy vegetable.
Yeah, okay.
But carrots is a root, tuber vegetable. Yeah. So nobody could really, define, because I think they weren't thinking in that direction because fruits are fruits, vegetables.
Yeah, what do you mean?
So he kept calling people from different classes. They couldn't really think in that direction. And then he told them to call me.
Okay.
Right?
Call the star girl.
He told them to call me, and then I got to the class from GS3E, I went to GS3C, and it was like, I'm going to ask you a question and you will know it.
Okay. So, how did you feel?
So I was like, what do you mean I will know it? And it was like, okay, look at the board. I saw the drawings on the board. It's like, what is the difference? Can you tell the difference between this? And I thought about, I took a deep breath. It was like, you will know it.
That's a very good confidence.
And then I responded, and it was like, congrats! His response was so sharp that, yes, he said I was going to know it. In that moment, I felt like wow, because I saw the other girls he had called, like they were right there.
Girls' college, right?
Yes,
Okay.
I felt like, oh my God, like I actually knew it, right? And one day he called me to his office that, like, if he asked me now, I would say I want to be a doctor or something. But he thinks that I should be a pilot. That he thinks that the accuracy and, the reasoning that that job requires, that I will have it. But I mean, I ended up not being a pilot, of course, and all that. But some of those, like, confidence that people had in me and the way they say it out, it's different in that you're admiring someone and you're not letting them know. So it was almost like, okay, yeah, it could be challenging as well because there are expectations of you, right? But the fact that they tell you that you can do this thing, right? So like those comments, and I could go on and on to tell you like different instances where things like that, I mean, not exactly that, but things like that happened where, when I was writing my WAEC, people were, like, the results in Ekiti State that year, or the previous years, were not good, right? And so I was telling my school registrar that, I was really worried, and was like, no, you will pass.
Yeah,
Do
you even know me?
Like, he was like, no, you will pass. So things like that, like, people just, and they were mostly my teachers, I'll tell you that. And I think that was also what kept me in the academia line. Most of these people have been my teachers, like, right from primary school, secondary school, even my professors when I was in Unilag, and then even up to grad school. I remember I took a course when I was in Georgia State. So I started graduate school from Georgia State.
Okay, then Oklahoma.
Yeah, then I went to Oklahoma. So I took a course in Georgia State. It was, I think, medical microbiology.
Was that a master's?
Yes, for my master's. I didn't get a master's though because I transferred and transitioned into the PhD program. So I was taking this medical micro.
Twice. Talk about that. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was taking this medical micro class. The professor was awesome. He's a physician, but then he teaches on the side. So when it comes to class, he explains everything. I understand everything he's saying. And then on the tests, I don't do well.
Oh.
But then my doing well was still the best of the class.
You're not doing well.
Not doing well, rather. So at some point, he invited me and somebody else that was doing our not doing well, that just wanted to appreciate us, that he knows that his exam patterns are challenging, that because he uses medical school patterns, but he just wanted to appreciate us for, we just keep going in the course. And I was like, what do you mean you want to appreciate me? I should.
I'm supposed to do this, what I'm here to do.
So it was just a lot of this kind of comments that you can do this. And I'm like, okay, if you think I can do this, maybe then I should give it a try. So I think it's mostly this comment, and that's why I like them a lot.
Yeah.
I think another one that stood with me was my EducationUSA interview. So I was
going to come to that actually, because I know you did that.
Yeah, I came into the US as an EducationUSA scholar. And so the process requires like application.
Yes.
And then they shortlist.
By the way, I tried it. I failed. I did not select me. I did not choose me. How would you say that? I did not get to the program. I finished my bachelor's in 2018. So myself and two of my friends, we tried it. None of us got selected.
Yeah.
So I kind of, what's the word? Appreciate is not the word. I kind of respect those I know who got the program. I tried that and I did not get it. See, people get it. You must be better. But yeah, go ahead.
So then they shortlist and then they interview the people that are shortlisted. Yeah. And then they do another sort of shortlisting.
Oh, after that. So that first one doesn't mean you're into the program already.
No.
Some of us not even meet the first shortlisting. Okay.
Yeah. So on the day of the interview, they had already sent me an email that they were going to call me.
Was it in-person interview?
No, it was call.
Oh, okay.
And we were going to have a call, right? And I was excited,
Of course.
And then on that day, on the day before, I got a news that I needed to move apartments.
Oh, were you in Unilag then?
I wasn't in Unilag. I was interning at 54 Gene.
Okay.
And they were going to move us around or something like that. And the moving was not going to overlap the others. So the move out time from the first department was not overlapping with the moving time.
So where would you stay?
So we were literally in transit.
Yeah.
So when it was time for the call, it was 12 o'clock. So it was time for the call, and like official calls, 12 o'clock was 12 o'clock.
Yeah, and it's an American embassy,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
And by the way, the program is an American embassy program for those who don't know. So let's give a background of the program first. You want to say something about the program?
So EducationUSA is the education arm of the U.S. Department of State.
States, yes.
So it's funded by the U.S. Department of State. Everything happens at the embassy.
Yes.
So you go to normal training sessions, and then if you make it to grad school, you go for your visa interview is normal, and then after your visa interview, time to travel, the consular general hosts a reception and all that. Yes, so it's like a Department of State.
So they are literally the embassy that some of us go to also for visa. They are taking care of
the embassy.
They are the children of. You can imagine how this life is. This life is mad. So some of us will go and also for visa. Some of them are oh, come, let us train you, let us put you on the path. And of course, they still do the visa interview. So it's not like they get the visa free, but at least they're like the children of the embassy. So go back to your call now.
So you do the visa interview as usual because the interviewing officer is not a part of the program.
Yes, it has to be out of that and
because it's
look at you objectively.
It's a different department. Yeah.
But of course they would have, I don't want to say coached you, you'd have been prepared for the interview already.
Yeah, so training for questions that could be asked.
DS-160 filling, right?
Making sure that you understand what you're going to do in grad school is part of the process.
And be able to articulate it.
Yes. Yeah. So as I was saying, the day of the interview, I was homeless.
Oh, yeah.
And on the road, and the call came in, and I was fidgeting.
Yeah.
Mind you, this was the second time I was applying. The first time the first time I applied, I didn't make it.
I didn't retry.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah. So I just felt no way, this one that looks like I'm going through with looks like it's not going to happen again. Then I was fidgeting, and then I started crying.
Oh.
And then the call came in, and they were asking me questions. I was going off tangents. And then the advisor was like, Aanuoluwa, she's evil. So she was, I remember she wasn't saying Aanuoluwa. She's like, Aanuoluwa, I've read your essays. This is not you.
Oh.
I was like, what do you mean this is not me? Have you met me before? She was like,
and this goes back to those who have given you that vote of confidence earlier too, right?
So, so she said that 3 times that you are not answering the questions well. I've read your essay. This is not you. Do you want to get a place? So I was walking. She was like, do you want to get a place to sit? I said, I'm outside. I don't have a house. She said, anywhere. Just find a place to sit. Then I looked around. I saw a staircase. So I sat there. She was like, okay, take a deep breath. Okay. Now we'll start all over. And then they started asking me questions again and all that. And then I started trying to answer. And then the interview ended. I knew I wasn't going to get it. For sure. Because you don't mess up an interview and then expect a miracle to happen, right? And then I got an email. I was actually, so they give us numbers, right? And I was 0001.
Oh.
Which means
your name, Aanuoluwa Adekoya AA. Maybe.
I don't even know what led to that number, but then I was that number, right? And I was like, wow.
And what year was this?
This was 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, 2019 or 2020. Yeah. So I was just like, oh my God. And that confidence just came back again. That I could do this. And then I started applying to grad school because they need you to apply to grad school.
Of course.
And then funding was not coming, COVID and everything. Funding was not coming. And then my funding came at the very last minute, and my funding came at the very last minute that out of that excitement, it was 6 a.m. in the morning. I texted her that I sent her the email.
That same Igbo woman, right?
woman,
Yeah.
like she's the director of
okay.
the program.
Okay.
So her name is Mrs. Wadlike.
Okay.
So in case she watches this, and she's like, you don't know my name?
Yeah, no, she does.
We call her Mrs. U.
Okay.
So I sent the email. I was supposed to schedule the email to be delivered at 8 a.m. because she'll tell you that work start at 8 o'clock. But out of excitement, I just sent the email and she responded to my surprise. Yeah. And she was like, Aanuoluwa, you were number one for a reason. I was like, no, don't even start right now. So those kind of comments just like tell me that, okay, I can do this. And I've also learned from it too. That's why, like, when I love people, I show them, I tell them, like, when they are here to listen to it, to know it, like, you show them, you let them know, because you don't know how far those words can carry them.
Right. Thank you so much. There's a lot of lessons there. I think one of them is just what you said, that verbalize the way you feel about people. Of course, if you don't feel so good, maybe be careful about it. But if there is something you want to say that can brighten up somebody's day, please do. You don't know how much that Mrs. U probably doesn't know what you were going through, but you felt like there's something about you, and she was able to listen. Your teachers, and I think one thing that these people are doing without knowing is that they were planting something into you that will bring you this far. And all of their little planting and watering here and there has brought you here. So please, like I've said in one of our videos with Buki, if you get a chance to encourage somebody, please do it. I hope that we have more light and more love around us in the world. So that's a very good story then. So now let's go back to you transferring. The reason I wanted to talk to you really is, okay, you transferred. I didn't even know you did it twice.
Yes.
So can you walk me through the transfer process?
Yes.
And why? Like, if you're able to talk about why, because some might not be for this audience,
Yes, I actually can. And I would say again is some of those comments again. So I came into, when you're applying to grad school and all that, everything is virtual. You don't know the true situation until you get there. Yeah. So I applied.
And that applies to advisors, so they don't know what the students will look like until they get them. So I applied to Georgia State with the hope of working with a certain professor. Now, Georgia State doesn't let you apply to a lab, like have conversations with the PI and then start. You apply into the program, then you rotate.
the pool. You don't even rotate because they have a non-thesis master's program and a thesis master's program. So you could take a semester to just observe. Or you could also just find a lab in that first semester. There is no designed rotation. So I got into Georgia State. I already had an idea of the people I wanted to work with. And then I started texting them on getting there. And
you mean emailing?
Emailing them. Right? I used to say text, email. Yeah. And the very first professor was like, actually, she's closing down her lab.
Oh.
And I was like, what?
She was leaving academia?
Yeah.
Oh.
I was like, what? And I think she was retiring, but she was retiring early.
Okay.
I was like, what do you mean? I came here for you, right? And then I started thinking, okay, where else could I go? And I figured my other options. Okay. And then I had an interview with her at her office. She was like, she doesn't have funding, so she can't take a student. It's like, okay. And then I went to the third option. He's like, he doesn't have funding. He can't take a student. So if you're not able to get into a lab, right,
non-thesis.
You have to do non-thesis. And then, so eventually it was looking like a non-thesis program. Non-thesis is just like classroom.
Right? No research.
Nothing is going on. You're not going to
You want to do research.
It wasn't even just the conference. The research, you're not going to conferences. There's no award to apply for. It was just wake up, go to class. School. Almost like secondary school. Secondary school could be better because you could go to competition.
At least.
So I felt like I've been given too much
to end
to
up
have
there.
a basic, like to be in that basic situation. And then, an old friend also.
And when you mean given too much, the Opportunity USA program,
I feel like,
all of the inputs so far till then.
Like, I feel like the Department of State didn't spend so much on me to just go to classes and come back home and, that's it. So, also, like, the people before now and all that, because these things, like, there's a way these things work, right? Like, there are people that did non-thesis program.
And they love it.
And they love it because their paths, it meets their need, and also their paths have been designed, to just get a certificate and then get a job, things like that.
Right.
So I was just like, this is not going to work, right? Like, this is basic, and we have to do more. Like, too much has been given, much more is expected, right?
And you love that quote. We'll talk about it, maybe because you're always like, anyway, I watch your status, like, just put much more, you snap your face by 7 p.m., much more. We'll talk about that.
So I was just like, then I mentioned this randomly to an old friend. He was on a call with somebody who was asking me a question, and eventually we had that conversation, and I was like, oh no, you have to leave that program. So that there are other better programs
we're in the US.
Unfortunately, it's the land of the free, right? The system has been designed that if something is not working,
you can say, okay,
you could move. You could move somewhere else. Yeah. And then I figured that you could transfer and all that. So I started looking for where I would love to go. And then I didn't want to really so the lab I wanted to go to was the Marvin Whiteley lab at Georgia Tech.
Okay.
They do something similar to what I'm doing right now. And then I reached out to the Georgia Tech program, and they were like, actually, that they don't their admission process has closed. So this was
at that time
January.
Oh yeah, most schools have closed.
Yes,
December.
They are closed.
Yeah.
Which means I was going to stay back at the Georgia State program and finish, And I was like,
which is also not the bad option if that's really where you wanted to go, right?
Yeah. But then, if I was going to apply for a PhD program, that makes me less competitive because now I don't have research experience in my master's program and all that. So what I did was I looked at the Marvin Whiteley's lab. Fortunately, Marvin does a good job of updating his lab website. So I saw
is he
that
the top guy in that area.
He is.
Work? Okay.
He is the editor, chief editor-in-chief of MBio now. Yes, MBio is the signature journal, a flagship journal of American Society for Microbiology.
That's awesome.
So he is a big guy.
Deal.
Yeah. So I saw that he has just recently graduated some postdocs, sent them off to the job market. And I was just going through the list of the people
he very smart.
Sent off. Because there's a way this science, our science kind of works, right? The mentor has a trace in the mentee.
Yes.
So it's almost like if I can get into the lab of one of these people, even though Marvin doesn't directly train me, a piece of Marvin will be training me. So I started looking, okay, what are they doing? Because now they will not be doing what Marvin is doing.
They have their own niche.
So which of these people will interest me? And then I found my PI. She was at the University of Oklahoma at the time. Fortunately, they had updated their website to show that she was there as well. So I sent an email to her. She responded that was the fastest grad school email exchange I had at the time. So she responded, and I was like, yeah, this is, what was going on. And we were like, we could chat and all that. We chatted. She was like, okay, their program was closing that Friday.
Oh.
I reached out to her on Monday.
Okay.
She was like, their program was closing that Friday.
Closing admission.
Yes, admission application. That if I could send in my application before Friday, then we might talk more. But if I'm unable to do that, she's unsure, because some other people have applied as well. And then I looked at my list of recommenders, like, who can I get a quick letter from? So then I reached out to these people. Fortunately, I took a class at Georgia State the previous semester that requires us to update our CV, statement of purpose, like a professional development class. So I had that ready to go. I just had to put some edits of like
specificity.
Yeah, to personalize it more to the program at OU. And then everything just worked out. I applied, and then I got an invite for the interview. I went for the interview. I liked it.
Was it in person?
Yeah, it was in person.
Okay.
Yeah, so I flew to Oklahoma. I liked the interview experience. It was really nice. They gave us a lot of food.
Yeah, they would lodge you in a hotel,
yeah,
take you
it was
around,
really fancy. And then I liked the structure. Georgia State is like across the streets, like all over the place. OU was like an actual college kind of thing. So I liked it. And then it was slow.
Slow?
Yeah, Atlanta reminded me so much of Lagos. So Oklahoma was like...
Oh, your school was in Atlanta?
Yes.
Okay.
So Oklahoma was kind of quite like slow.
Like Knoxville?
Yes. And then, interestingly, my advisor was just coming from Atlanta as well. Because she did Georgia Tech is in Atlanta.
Oh, okay, okay, great.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, this would be the perfect story, you know. And then I got the offer. I even got an offer with a fellowship.
Oh wow!
You know, so I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I transferred after a year at Georgia State. So my application was after a semester, but then I had to still do the spring because it was a fall start.
Yes.
So I went to Oklahoma, and I was there. I liked it. Everything was going well. But then the program was how do I say this? I don't want to say collapsing, because they were going to merge all the biological sciences to become a school of biological sciences. And then microbiology as a program was getting smaller. You know, and also we were the only like pathogenesis lab, like doing like human medical sort of microbiology research, which is really good for a strong program.
For them, right, to retain their only that kind of thing. Yeah.
Also, it's really not good for a program, because if you decide to change lab and there is no other lab that does something similar to an extent, you're stuck. So also, it's not really good for grant writing, right?
You don't get the support.
It's hard to find a co-PI and things like that. So my advisor, I was going to stay, you know, because our research was going well. My advisor were doing well. But then she just mentioned to me that, you know, like she was looking at Tennessee or looking at other options and all. And that if it works, we might be leaving. And if it doesn't work, we might just stay back. And it worked, you know, and so at that point I had trusted her so much that whatever negotiations she's having for herself, she'll be having
you in
on my behalf too, and she would mean well for me. So
and did it happen like that?
Yeah, and then she said something that day that we had another meeting where she told me that she had been given an offer and she was considering going. And she said, I would like for you to come with me. And I'll also advise you come with me. So, like, there are advisors that, you know, just leave you stranded. So I just felt like, okay, for her to be telling me and all that, she cares, you know, beyond the science. She cares about what's going to happen to me if she leaves me. And I just like, okay, I'm going to go with her. Okay. And, you know, like, it worked out. It worked out.
I mean, now you're a doctor.
You know, and I still have my family, right? Yeah. Like, having my partner 800 miles away wasn't what I had planned. But some way, somehow, you know, we made it work out. So
that's beautiful.
And the science worked out too.
That's beautiful. What do you think was most challenging to you with the moving from Georgia State to Oklahoma and then to Tennessee?
I think we're starting and the community, you know. But then I'll tell you that I consider myself a nomad. I've moved around a lot in my life for greener pastures. You know, I left my mom when I was about 16.
Oh.
to go to Lagos to stay with my sister.
Okay.
And what led to that was that, so when we're graduating secondary school, you know, that yearbook of like,
Yes.
where are you going next?
Yes.
Everybody had somewhere they were going next. I was the only one who didn't have, right? And I was like,
I want to go somewhere.
I need somewhere to go. And I told my mom, like, how about my sister in Lagos? You know, things like that. So she was like, oh, we'll have to ask her. I'm like, okay, we'll ask her, but for
I'm
now,
going to write it.
that I'm going to my sister in Lagos. And then I called my sister. That, okay, I'd like to come spend the holidays and all that. I just graduated I'll be graduating secondary school.
This is high school here in
High
the US.
school here in the US. And she was like, okay, it's fine. And then on getting to Lagos, I was like, I can actually take the jam.
I try my jam here. Okay.
That's what I started saying in Lagos. And then I went to University of Lagos eventually. Okay. And then I went to Abeokuta, Ogun State for NYSC.
Oh, yeah.
And then after NYSC, I got an internship in Lagos. And then after the internship, I got a job in Jos.
Oh.
That was the biggest decision of my life.
Did you go?
I went. It was an high-paying job for a fresh graduate.
Okay.
You know, I was just like, I need this financial breakthrough.
How long were you in Jos?
6 months, because the company decided to relocate to Abuja.
So you went to Abuja with them?
Which was funny because when I was younger, right?
You wanted to be in Abuja?
No, not that. Okay. So our neighbor, like where I grew up from, right? We had neighbors that would be like, oh, Yawomi, my wife, you know. And my mom would be like, no,
she's not your wife.
This one is not your wife. Or this one is going to Abuja.
Okay.
Right? So one day I asked my mom, like, why Abuja? Like, I knew state and capital, right? I knew that Abuja was a state and
was the capital of.
My mom was like, now Abuja, big people they meaning that like Abuja is where the prominent,
people,
and, you know, wealthy, successful people are and all that. So it just happened that I got to that Abuja actually, but it was funny because I was also in Abuja for like 6 months. And then I came to the US.
So your Opportunity USA thing was in Abuja Embassy?
No, it was Lagos. And it just worked.
This was Abuja.
It worked perfectly because it was COVID. So they wanted us to be virtual.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because of the pandemic. Okay. Yes. So everything just worked. Like my final EducationUSA letter came in the night before I left for Jos. So I didn't even have to make the decision of staying back in Lagos or going to. So
you got it before you went for the job. So if it was not COVID, you probably would have changed to Abuja Embassy, maybe.
I don't even know how that would have worked.
Yeah, but you didn't have to worry about that.
I didn't have to worry about that because they just sent a follow-up email that everything was going to be virtual because of the pandemic. Yes, so it just worked out well. Yeah. But then restarting was the problem. But then I also remembered that I've restarted a lot of times and I've gotten back the community. In fact, I ended up getting back a bigger community. And which eventually happened when I left Atlanta. My Oklahoma community was overwhelmingly like interesting.
Amazing,
And then moving to Knoxville, I intended to just like, you know, play cool. But it didn't happen that way. Like I met you, I met some other people, and you know, before we knew we were hosting Thanksgiving and all that.
Play a lot of games
you
in
know?
this room.
You know, so it just happened that way. So like right now I don't have the fear of moving anywhere because I've seen it worked out a number of times.
I think that's a very good lesson because starting all over again in whatever context is difficult. A lot of us as human, we are more comfortable with the status quo than trying to, and of course you don't want to be jumping around for whatever reason, but there are times that you know that this is just not working, whatever it is. So that's a very good lesson. That's a very big lesson. By the way, do you know that I think you served in my school? At FUNAB. Yeah, so I know somebody who knows you, George Mayowa, who said, oh, Mercy. He calls you Mercy.
People call me different things.
Okay, tell me. Mercy, I know what else.
Tamara.
Yeah, I've seen that too, Tamara.
Duro.
Okay, where the Duro is part of your name?
Aanuoluwa Duro Lai. So some people pick the Duro.
So your full first name is Aanuoluwa Duro Lai.
Yes, that's why.
Your legal full first name.
Yeah, but that's why it's Aanuoluwa because
that's long. Yeah. Okay. He tells me, Mercy, Tamara, whatever.